Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Thursday morning. Today is October 2nd, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings to talk about raising capital, starting businesses, and such. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we've received a grant, and one of those mandates, one of the elements, is to build financial literacy. Second of which is we provide Shelf Corps, and the third of which is we help clients use that knowledge and those shelf corps to access capital. Today, we're going to talk about the Entrepreneur Starter Pack. This is a new offering, and I think you're going to find it very, very well received and very much needed in the marketplace. So on the shared screen, you see the novel picture there showing a Porsche um, remote, and many of us, myself included, have 911s, and so that's actually exactly what my 911 key fob looks like, and then a wad of cash. So the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, the information is actually on entrepreneurstarterpack.com, but let's go through what's included, who would benefit from it, and then of course open it up for your Q&A. So the Entrepreneur Starter Pack is a combination of some of the resources that's been previously available. So it does include a shelf corporation. It does include also the 20,000 of QuickCash, and it does include access to the larger capital raises. So it's a bit of a bundled program that through the grant we're able to subsidize almost completely. So who should purchase an Entrepreneur Starter Pack? And again, where would you get it? Entrepreneurstarterpack.com. So to get business funding, we know you must have a fundable business. That's a key premise that we've talked about over and over. You can't just want money, you can't just need money. We actually need to have a business that meets the underwriting criteria of the given lender that we're applying to. So for short, ESP, Entrepreneur Starter Pack, the ESP provides exactly what's needed for entrepreneurs looking to launch a new business, including a compliant shelf corp, 20,000 of quick cash, and then further assistance for that larger capital raise. So this was developed with the input of some former business bankers, SBDC, SBA advisors, SCORE mentors, and others. The ESP, the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, is, I think, the fastest and easiest option to get started and positioned for funding. So you can see from this description, this is great for someone that has not started yet. I know that we've had outreach to a number of trade schools, cosmetology schools, truck driving schools, welding programs, training for insurance agents. This starter pack is great for those people that are transitioning from the academic world into entrepreneurship, as well as anyone else that may be out there that's looking to get a business and get funding for that business. Legal, free, fast, guaranteed. So, due to our grant, our 501c3 received, we can provide you the Entrepreneur Starter Pack for only $999.99. So, that's a great deal because remember what's included. That includes the Shelf Corp, and we'll go through the deliverables in a minute. That includes the Shelf Corp and the Quick Cash, all included for less than 1,000. So the time frame is what we're all used to. We normally need about a week from the time that someone enrolls. So how do they enroll? They go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com. It's going to pop up this screen. We can even type it in if you want to test it. Entrepreneurstarterpack.com. We hit return, and bam, it brings up exactly where we were just a moment ago. So with that, we need about a week to be able to deliver the deliverables, which we're going to talk more about. But the Shelf Corp and the 20,000, the Quick Cash, we need about a week. So people need to come into it understanding that no, it's not going to be instant. We need some time to get everything documented and transferred. Our goal is to do that in a week or less. So in normally in less than a week, we can transfer to you the Shelf Corp that's in their name and $20,000 in AR that can then be liquidated. And that quick cash is money that does not have to be paid back. Sometimes people say, well, what are the terms of that 20,000? What's the interest rate? Can I afford it? There is no repayment provision. Through the grant, it's included. It's not a loan. So we can scroll on down and I can make this a little larger maybe. Let's try that. Scroll down a bit. So the ESP, the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, provides an affordable and effective solution for entrepreneurs who are looking for a turnkey business ready to apply for business loans within days of enrollment. So again, what do we mean by that? We need about 7 days, which we said right up here, to deliver the Shelf Corp to the enrollee, to the grant participant. And at that time, we are ready to go into the funding phase. So this is an alternative to building from scratch. We've talked in past trainings, you have the buy versus build option, right? Even when it comes to your food, you can go to the restaurant and buy a meal, or you can prepare a meal. Your clothing, you can make your own blue jeans if you know how to do that. I don't. Or you can go buy blue jeans. So when it comes to businesses, we can build a fundable business or we can buy one. And through the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, we're providing them a fundable business that has those key fundability factors, which we're going to discuss momentarily. Again, just trying to state expectations. We are going to need about 1 week to get the Shelf Corp transferred, to get the quick cash transferred. Then we're going to be ready to implement, go into funding. So with that, let's go ahead and go through what's included. And of course, that is also described in the agreement. So when you go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, it brings up this flyer. And then after the flyer, it has the deliverables. But let's look at the flyer. It's a little easier to read. So what's included? So just like is normal with our Shelf Corps, we're going to provide them a fundable business entity with an EIN. So this is a business that's filed. It's in the grant participant's name. They're the only owner. There's no funny business, and it's in good standing. It's going to be set up under SIC code 8742, which is Business Management Consulting. We can change the industry code and we can change the other things, which we haven't gotten to yet if the client needs. But this is probably about the easiest and quickest way to go have a Shelf Corp that's ready to go to funding. So in addition to the entity, we also provide a business plan. To no surprise, most lenders want to see a written business plan to describe what does the business do, how does it make money, and so forth. So that comes in that 7-day window, turnkey, ready to go. If the grant participant wants us to make changes, of course we can make changes to it, but otherwise it's ready to go. We include a free unique commercial address. One of the things that many of you are aware of is the the address that the business uses greatly impacts its fundability. And that's from a couple perspectives. Not all lenders lend in all areas. So we provide a commercial address that gives us access to some unique lending options that aren't available nationally. And then secondly, the address needs to be a unique commercial address. So 2 words there, unique, commercial. Unique means that it can't be a shared suite. So you can't go to like a Regis or a WeWork or any of these co-working spaces where you pay maybe a nominal amount. They give you an address, but it's the same suite number as other businesses. That doesn't work well when we're trying to get set up with Dun and Bradstreet and getting the business ready for a large capital raise, as we've discussed in other trainings. So it is a commercial address and it's a unique address. We built a new office building on our property earlier this year. We moved into it, I guess, fully about 6 weeks or so ago. So we provide unique office suites for each participant, and that's free. They'll just pay the $40, but the address is free for the lifetime of the business. We also provide free business financials. So when you think about business financials, you want to remember that there are two aspects of financials. There's projections looking forward, and then there's historicals of what's happened in the past. And then what's where those two meet is today as far as our current financials. So we provide business financials, including the balance sheet. We're adding collateral legally and ethically onto the balance sheet. So we have collateral for the business loan. And then the P&L, same as income statement, shows our future projection. So I think, balance sheet shows assets and liabilities. P&L, otherwise known as income statement, shows revenue and expenses. So financials are included. As I mentioned before, we do provide collateral. Not all sources of capital, not all loan types require collateral, but a lot of them do. A lot of the clients we work with, they're not very strong on collateral, and so we decided to go ahead and build that in and include that. And then once again, it does include the 20,000 of QuickCash. QuickCash has been available in the past, but if you look at this, we're actually able to reduce the participants' cost. They're able to get the Shelf Corp and the QuickCash. Real business, real money fast. And so this initials just means when they go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, it brings them to this packet and it's asking the participant to acknowledge this. Real business, real money fast in about a week. So this is the third time. So we're trying to manage expectations. So if I signed up today, am I going to get $1 million tomorrow? No, we need a week to be able to put together the documentation, the paperwork, and deliver it. So in about a week, you'll receive your Shelf Corp and the QuickCash, the 20,000. Then at that point, we're going to be ready to move in to the next phase, which is going into funding. When we go into funding, that can be cash loans, SBA, USDA, ABL, lines of credit. And then also we were talking about business automobiles. So one of the things we want to do is add, or at least offer to do, is add trade lines onto the Shelf Corp. So we're making a much greater focus on that. So it makes sense that most of us need a vehicle anyway. Why not have a vehicle in the business name? That way it's tax deductible. Pretty much all the expenses associated with that vehicle are now able to be deducted from taxes. If the vehicle qualifies, which many do, we can get the IRS accelerated depreciation, which actually will save us money at the end of the year. And it's a big boy trade line. So for the Porsche 911 that we bought under the business name, financed under the business name, doesn't show on personal credit. That is, what was it, around 220, if I recall. So when you add a 200 plus or minus $200,000 line trade line on a business profile on the Dun and Bradstreet, that really makes the business look much stronger. So we're accomplishing multiple goals by helping people get a business automobile, and we want to place more focus on that. And that's a tangible benefit. For those of you that are resellers helping clients, you can offer the starter pack. You can increase the price if you want. You can, in other words, mark it up, and whatever you mark it up is your profit. But what we want to do is show real value to these clients as quickly as possible. So again, we need about a week to do that. Once we've delivered the Shelf Corp, we've delivered the 20,000 of QuickCash, now we're ready to go to funding and to start adding trade lines. So whether it be a business automobile, business credit card, so forth. Different trade lines have different underwriting, but we have a good number of trade lines that do not require PG, no personal guarantee. So the credit worthiness of the business owner doesn't have to be a barrier in adding trade lines. And then last point here, the Shelf Corp, with the business plan and the management consulting setup, it's actually designed to go make money. So it's kind of like if you went out and bought an existing business, you could buy a gas station or a donut shop or a restaurant or a hotel. Well, when you buy a business like that, you get a running business. Well, when individuals are getting the Shelf Corp through the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, it's a business that's ready to make money. ready for daily deposits. Now, maybe they don't want to operate it, which to me is kind of crazy, but it is designed to start making money right away. All right, so let's summarize and then we'll get over to your questions and comments. So we're rolling out the Entrepreneur Starter Pack. Information is on entrepreneurstarterpack.com. This is a resource that's available through us, and also it's going to be available through the branch offices. So those of you that are interested in running a branch office, you would have a physical office like we have in your community. You would have a real flag in the sand. You'd be a part of the community, not just working from home in your Scooby-Doo underwear. We help you develop and broker the relationships with local key influencers, especially business bankers, so they're referring to you. So again, the Entrepreneur Starter Pack is available on our website, entrepreneurstarterpack.com, and it will start being available through our branch offices effective immediately, October 2025. So with that being said, let's open it up for questions, comments, concerns. All right, let's see. Looks like Brian has a question about what's the value of this. So let's compare, Brian, cost and value, and that's a great point to bring up. So the cost, if they come directly to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, we've already said it a couple times. It's less than $1,000. Yes, they pay for it. Yes, they pay for it up front. And then we need about 7 days to get the deliverables to them. And at that point, we can go for funding. They will already have it at that 7th day. They should already have the Shelf Corp. They should already have the 20,000 of QuickCash. Now we're ready to go above and beyond that to get larger business loans customized to what they want and need, as well as adding trade lines such as a new 911 or whatever vehicle that you want. Brian, remind me, what is the company car that you're driving? If you can throw that out there. Mr. Certain's asking, do you have to be a branch office? This is designed to be available through branch offices. I think they're going to open it up for everyone for the month of October. And then come November 1st, then they're going to tighten this up. And the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, which we think is going to be amazingly successful, will only be available through branch offices starting November 1st. But you all do have a 30-day window if you're just a reseller to make it available. ITEA asked about the trade lines. So we don't charge for the trade lines. So we're not charging clients to add the trade lines. I guess that's the short answer. Simpler answer than probably what you thought. Let's see here. Michelle and Doug have some similar questions regarding the timeline, and I guess I'll go through it again. I meant to cover it. So day 0 is when the client comes over to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, fills out this packet. So again, just like I showed, if you go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, it brings you to this page. It has this introductory information, and then it actually has the agreement that goes on down and then wraps up with the exhibit for the free resources. So let's call this day 0. And then after day 0, we need about 7 days to fulfill it. What we expect to happen within 1 week is now they'll have their Shelf Corp, they'll have their business, they'll have their documentation from the Secretary of State, they'll have their EIN, they'll have their business plan, financial projections, the 20,000 of QuickCash. So all that should be in their possession in 1 week. And then at that point, if they want to move forward, and that's what this paragraph here is stating, it says, if purchaser desires sellers, which is the client, us, assistance in applying for funding, financing, or adding trade lines, including a company automobile, like the 911 that Joseph drives and I drive, then they initial here, and then we'll go into the funding phase. So they don't have to go into the funding phase if they don't want. but of course, most of them do. Even if they stopped at that point, they're in a great position. They've got a business that's ready to make money immediately, have a business that is compliant for funding, even if they don't want our help, and they've got the 20,000 of quick cash. So hopefully that helps you better understand. Now, as far as how long additional funding and financing would take, it'll depend upon what the client's trying to accomplish. But we should be able to go for the trade lines nearly immediately. And so we normally like to add 4 trade lines. That's the goal. It's up to the client, but we like to add 4 trade lines. That gets us the Dun and Bradstreet Paydex score that we're looking for, which we talked about on a prior training. You can see our recordings up on YouTube. So with that being said, of those 4 trade lines, we work with the client to whatever trade lines they want. Normally, it would be a business automobile and then 2 business credit cards and 1 business line of credit. That would be the normal, but we can vary that however the client wants. So IT, I know you had questions about the trade lines. If I didn't answer, let me know there. All right, let me see if there's any other questions. Daryl's asking, I think, and we'll go back up to the top page. And if I understand Daryl's question correctly, you say, well, why do we charge for this? And it's obviously subsidized, but why do we charge for this? Why isn't it free? Well, it's subsidized through the grant, but we believe, and Daryl, you may or may not agree, it just makes sense for people to have some skin in the game. And also the grant goes further if there's some contribution, where if we provided this entirely out of the grant, then we would burn through the grant quicker and less people would be able to participate. So do you all feel that this value proposition is a good deal at 1,000, or do you think the pricing is off? I'm curious. If you don't mind typing in there, what are your thoughts or comments on the price point in terms of the grant participant contribution? All right, so let's see what other questions we have. Um, Brian came back and asked another question about adding trade lines. Yeah, so we certainly, and we announced this recently, that starting fourth quarter of this year, starting October now, we're going to put more time and effort working with clients and adding trade lines. We've always referenced that. We've always inferred that they should do that. And frankly, they could do that on their own. But what we found through experience is that sometimes they're not. So we need to do some more support, more hand-holding, more assistance, and that's what we're doing now. T is asking about the website entrepreneurstarterpack.com. It looks like Eric's asked if I understand about company automobile. So on the company automobile, we can work with client whatever type of automobile they want. Maybe it's more utilitarian, it's more of a tow truck or a dump truck or an industrial vehicle, but it doesn't have to be, right? We can have a white collar business like business management consulting and still have 1 or more company cars. A lot of us like to have different company cars for different purposes. So we got the Lamborghini, to kind of flex a little bit. The 911 is a nice daily driver. Don't want to drive either of those in rain or adverse weather. So we got the G63 to drive I was going to say because it's all-wheel drive, but as you probably know, the Lamborghini is 4-wheel drive too. But regardless, we can do 1 or more company vehicles, depending upon what the client wants. We can do 1 or more company credit cards. And this isn't all about raising money through credit cards. We want to go get cash loans. That's referenced right here. But why wouldn't you want to have at least 1 business credit card? Why wouldn't you? Because you got to put gas in the car, you got to pay insurance on the car. And if you get some nicer cars like Daryl and I have, the insurance is pretty expensive. But the point is, we'll work with the clients on the trade lines that they want. All right. IT is asked, I think it was IT. Yeah, she's asking about who to contact for the trade line. So Once a client comes to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, fills this out, then what's going to happen is they're going to get an executed copy back of this, and they're going to frankly get an invoice, right? The invoice is going to be for the $999.99. Then one of our staff, one of our funding coordinators, like Madison, who's on the training right now, will reach out to the client, welcome them aboard, ask them if they have any initial questions, and then we will have staff that works with the participants from that point forward. Now, during that initial 7 days, there's not a whole lot for us to do, for the client to do. It's on us. We need to do what we promised. But then if they're going to use our assistance in the larger capital raise, adding the trade lines after that seventh day when they've received the 20,000 QuickCash and the Shelf Corp, then there's a lot more interaction going on. We build the capital raise based upon their wants and needs. Let's see. Rod asked a good point. Does this change anything that we currently offer? No. So we have affiliates, we have resellers, we have branch offices. Nothing's being taken away from any of you that are current distribution partners. But I do think this will probably become our flagship offering, because instead of just getting them a Shelf Corp, what has happened, we've offered the Shelf Corps and we'll continue to do that as standalone. But the problem is some of these folks would get a Shelf Corp, but some of them didn't have much liquidity. So they needed a Shelf Corp, yes, but they needed some money. They needed some quick cash. And this allows us to package that in so it's not a separate transaction, not a separate step. Daryl asked, how fast is the capital raise? It's going to depend upon the client's goals and circumstances, but the example we've given several times is Bilal, and Bilal is a real person. He's on our training again this morning. Bilal came in, and within 24 hours, we got him over $800,000 of offers. Now, the truth is he didn't accept all the offers, and that's the nice thing about our approach. We don't get power of attorney. We don't pretend to be the client. We don't fraudulently complete forms on their behalf, so we're advising them. So clients like Bilal had the opportunity to either accept or decline each offers. So normally from the time that we apply for funding, we'll get offers back within 24 hours, one business day, and then different lenders have different turnaround time. But our goal is above and beyond the quick cash, which is here, above and beyond that, 7 days to get them the Shelf Corp. We get them offers, hopefully by day 8, and we want to see them getting cash in their pocket within 2 weeks. So that's a reasonable turnaround time. All right, so with that being said, that's where we're at. You can reach out to us. Of course, we have our support text, which I think you're all familiar with. But the bottom line is excited to roll out the Entrepreneur Starter Pack. It's a great new offering, kind of catchy, you can kind of visualize it, where we're getting people their business, their company car, their trade lines, and cash. And it's as simple as just peeling that plastic back and opening it. It's as simple as coming over here to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, fill it out, and we can start showing them meaningful, measurable results in about a week. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Again, just go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com if you want to participate. Thanks. Bye-bye.